Hey everybody, and I want everyone to just take a step back and be ready for the content we have today. Today is day 2 of our Tech Meets Business Encore series, and I'm so excited to have all of y'all here. So before we go, could y'all take a moment to share this, connect with each other on LinkedIn, and just share to all your platforms? We have a titan in the industry. We have a very good host for y'all today, and I want him to make sure he gets all the love and support. And so we're going to continue our July events with some of the greatest Black technologists. And so before we get further into that, we just want to know where you are, a little bit of a vibe check. Are you in school in boot camp self-learning? Are you applying for your first role? Are you glowing and growing in your career? We want you to know wherever you are, you're supported and you're loved, and we're here to make sure that y'all get all the information in all the roles. Before that we get to our guest of the hour, I wanted to ask y'all, have y'all visited our referral zone? We have so many different companies here. We have Boomi, we have Microsoft, we have Atlassian, Zillow, Netflix, Accenture, Becton Dixon. And so we really want y'all to get these opportunities at these companies because at the end of the day, we know how these companies are. Everything is referral based. So a referral makes it a stronger chance for your resume to be seen. So please take a moment to go to our referral zone. And the link to it right here is bit.ly/MMC-refers. And again, that's bit.ly/MMC-refers. And so I just want to give a couple of announcements before we get into the talk, because I know you're not here to hear me ramble, but before we get to the guests, the main man of the hour, I just want to take you through me and some of the team. We have some new additions, our upcoming mentorship program, how to opt into our text reminders, our Etsy shop, and our Encore series giveaway. So just want you to take a chance to meet the team. You have Chanel P., who's the founder of the Mentor Me Collective. You have me, who's the Chief Strategy and Business Officer. We have Miss Ashley, who's the Community Impact Coordinator, and Brianna, who's our social media strategist. And we have a few more. Sade, who does all the designs for our Etsy shop and everything. Dominique, who's a user experience design, as well as Sharika, and Diamond M., who's an operations engineer. They're all such lovely people. And so our mentorship program is launching. We just closed the fall 2022 program, but we'll be launching one in the spring. And so we want to make sure that y'all all tuned in, y'all all get the opportunity to sign up for the next upcoming cohort. We have a lot of people who got signed up, and we thank you all for just taking the opportunity to sign up with us. If you'd like to get involved in the spring 23 cohort, please visit bit.ly/MMC-mentee. Please follow all directions there. It's all laid out for y'all, and I promise y'all it's well worth it. Are you ready for a tree summit? That's right, y'all. We're here to offer y'all the Apex Summit that's going to be coming in. That's going to be coming in October. It's our second summit. We got one last year, but this is our first in-person summit. We have a lot of things going on for y'all. We have a lot of things popping off, and we really want to make sure that y'all have the opportunity to see all that we're offering. And if you'd like to register, you will go to bit.ly/the Apex Summit. We're trying to create space for all Black technologists and everyone else to really just see what all these companies are not only doing, but to shoot your shot. You'll learn something new, you'll have a little fun, and more importantly, you'll connect with some of the dopest people ever. And so it'll be happening in Atlanta, Georgia. We expect about 1,000 free attendees. It will be happening from October 5th to the 8th, and it's totally free, meaning you just need to buy your ticket and you are already admitted when we drop the register link. And so we have different audiences, different tribes. We want to make sure we're addressing everyone as we possibly can. We have the students, we have contributors, and we have leaders. As you know, there's various degrees and various people in these roles, and we want to make sure everyone has equal access. So once again, register at bit.ly/the Apex Summit so you can know when we're dropping those tickets. And so I wanted to take y'all a moment to opt into our text reminders. You will text MMC to 866-901-1914. Again, that's 866-901-1914. We don't spam y'all. We only literally drop when we're doing events and giveaways. That's it. Just stay in tune with us so we can be in tune with you. I also want y'all to visit our Etsy shop. Y'all remember Sade, who I was talking about? She does all the designs for the Etsy shop. She has designed some of the dopest merchandise that I've ever seen. And we really want y'all to go on and just look at all that she does. She's amazing. And that's etsyshop.com/shop/Mentor Me Collective. But what's an MMC event without a MMC giveaway? That's why we're bringing these back. And so we want you to grab a notebook and take notes for a quiz, connect with us on social media, and also complete the online quiz that will be dropping at the end of this event series. And so check in with a selfie, just tag us on LinkedIn and on our various platforms. You can also, again, take notes for the online quiz, tag us on social media, and again, opt in by texting MMC to 866-901-1914. If you have any clarity, you can email us at admit@mentormecollective.org. And these are just a couple of the giveaway prizes: the Apple AirTags, the HomePod Mini, a Hydrate water bottle, and the Natalie Smart light bulbs. All really dope and all completely free. What do you got to lose? But guess what? Y'all didn't come to hear me talk all this time. Y'all came for the man of the hour, and he actually participated in our last event series. He did an amazing job. So I want y'all to give it up for Mr. Morris Milton of Handshake.
Thank you. I apologize if my voice goes in and out today. I've had COVID for the past week or so and just now starting to peel back a bit, but really excited to be here. As Dom said, my name is Morris Milton. I'm the RVP, so Regional Vice President of Employer Partnerships on the enterprise team here at Handshake. If you're unfamiliar with Handshake, we are the world's largest platform for early talent. And what that means is we are the official system of record for career centers at over 1,400 educational institutions. So if you've gone to college in the past 4 or 5 years, you've probably been given a Handshake license. We have a 3-sided network, and what that looks like is employers, students, and the schools. And so just an amazing technology, amazing mission. If anybody has any questions about that, please feel free to reach out. Today, I'm going to be talking to everyone about a few different pieces of what is sales. And so let me go ahead and present this to you if you can't see it. Cool. Did you do that or did I do that? Okay. All right. Can everybody see my presentation? I'm going to take that as a perfect. Cool. So just a quick agenda. We're going to run briefly through, and I guess the GIFs don't work, sadly. I'm sad, but we're going to run through my background, a little bit about myself, where I came from, things like that. What are the ingredients of sales? And then we'll talk through, is sales for you? So, with Sales 101, I wanted to give people a little piece of what should you be thinking about if you're in a sales role now or thinking about a sales role for the future. So my background, for those who don't know me, and that's probably everybody, my journey started in Vallejo, California, where I was born. So I'm a Bay Area native, and moved to Vacaville, California at a very young age, where I was raised. I grew up playing sports, hunting and fishing, all those types of activities. My parents are both from the South, so fishing was kind of an every weekend type of thing, activity with my family, and the friends that my father put me around. From there, I got a college scholarship for football, moved to, Oregon State, or to Corvallis, where I was injured, and then moved to Montana State, which is Bozeman, to finish my athletic career, where my athletic career actually did finish, and I was injured permanently and was not able to keep playing football. But still kind of had that passion for competition, right? Like I've been a lifelong athlete, and so competition is instilled in me. From there, I actually transitioned back to the Bay Area and got a degree in sound engineering. Music was a passion of mine, and something that I always felt like could be a calling for me. And so I got a degree in sound engineering out there in Emeryville, California. Moved to Los Angeles, where I worked with Big Sean, Ray J, Dom Cannon, Don Kennedy, a bunch of different artists out there as a sound engineer. I was also signed as a producer and artist myself, but kind of had a transition at a certain point where my brother gave me a call actually one day and said, "Hey, make sure this is for you, because you don't want to be 35 and have to change your whole career," right? So that was one thing that kind of got the wheels turning for me. All right, like, let me figure out, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? or is there something else that might be best suited for me? And from there, I had a conversation with my mother. She was a helicopter mom. That's just the way she gets down. And she let me know that there was a job fair out in Burbank, so not too far away from where I was staying in Los Angeles. I went out and actually got a job with ADP, and that was my first sales job. I was still working in Los Angeles as an engineer, working at ADP, and then my father got sick, and that's what brought me back to the Bay Area. While in the Bay Area, I was kind of trying to figure out, like, what is my career path going to look like from here? Music wasn't really big in the Bay Area. Obviously, I'd worked with Clyde Carson and some folks during the hyphy movement, so I was integrated in that, but was a little older and trying to figure out, like, what is it for me? Like, what am I trying to accomplish? And so had some friends that were working as BDRs in a company called Autonomy, and they reached out and got me connected. And so that was my first sales role, was a BDR / SDR at a company called Autonomy, which was then acquired by HP. So that was the beginning of my tech journey. From there, I went to companies like Dropbox, Plaid, and now Handshake, all some really incredible companies that have given me the ability to not only understand what it's like to be in the tech environment, but what it's like to work in a large as well as very, very small and building out. And what I have a passion for really is building a sales team, starting from scratch, kind of putting processes in place, those types of things. And been really blessed to work for some really strong leaders, as I do now at Handshake with Jess Peluso, but at all the organizations I've been at. And just really can't say enough about that experience. Anybody have any questions about background or what kind of led me to sales before I move on to the next slide? If I don't hear anything or see anything soon, I'm going to go ahead and move to the next slide. Oh, cool. Thanks, Dom. So really, it was a little bit serendipitous, as I think it is for a lot of folks that end up in sales. One of the jokes is, like, you couldn't figure out what you wanted to do with your life, so you got into sales. The funny thing is, what people don't think about all the time is that sales is actually the highest paying profession. So, if you're good at sales, you'll make more than CEOs at a lot of organizations, at least from a salary perspective. You might not make more than them from the equity and all the other stuff, but it's actually one of the highest paying positions out there in the entire world. For me, I always had the components to be in sales, right? Like, I think one thing that you have to have is a competitive mindset. And so from sports and things like that, it was just an easy transition to get into a field that is metrics driven and very competitive. And a lot of it still, again, was that serendipity where my mom said, hey, there's a job fair happening over here. The company that really reached out and pushed for me was ADP, which is a world-class selling organization. Wouldn't call it, tech by any means, but it is. It's old tech. And so that was kind of the path that led me to sales. And once I started making some money and talking to folks that were making real money, I knew that was something for me, because I was always somebody who was very goal orientated. And one of those things I wanted to do was invest in real estate and all those types of things. So I knew I needed to have money to do so. So I think it depends on your role, right? Like, there are organizations out there from a sales perspective, if you don't have sales experience, where you kind of have to start from the ground up, where you can go work in what's like a boot camp for sales, where usually they'll teach you the tools to be an SDR or a BDR, which is that entry level role where I started in, which is I honestly would never push anybody off of that. I think it's a great way to start and understand sales from the bottom up. It's the very first piece, and one of the most impactful pieces, which is learning how to talk about a product. So if that's the route for you, if you can't get into an organization through kind of like, the classical ways, which is either getting out of college and reaching out to these organizations, or you can't leverage, contacts to get into an organization, I think those are a really great way to get into sales, particularly in tech. Companies like Memory Blue are one of those types of organizations where you can get out of college, go work at Memory Blue. They'll teach you the fundamentals of sales and then actually input you or implement you into an organization that has a contract with them. Also, from a certificate standpoint, there's obviously roles like engineering that I know the Mentor Me founders are part of. Those types of roles, you definitely can use certificates, leverage certificates to kind of show that you understand coding and language and Python and things like that to help get you procure a job. But I can't speak too much on the engineering side since my expertise is on the sales side. Awesome. I love that. Cybersecurity is a great vertical. I actually have my mentor, or not my mentor actually, but one of my colleagues that I started at ADP with is he's a man, he manages a team of folks at cybersecurity. So Ali, if you have some sales experience and he manages an enterprise team, but reach out to me on LinkedIn, please feel free and I can connect you to him and see if he's open to having a conversation. Any other questions before I kind of move to what are the ingredients of sales? All right. I wish these gifts were working for me, but alas. So one thing I want to teach everyone if they are thinking about sales, since this is Sales 101, are what are some of the key components to make you a strong seller? Or if you're not a seller now, what do you need to understand before you start going and interviewing for sales roles? So when I thought about this and I kind of put my thinking hat on last night is like, what do I want to talk about in terms of ingredients of sales? The things that come to me and the things that I scrutinize with my team the most are prospecting, deal management, and stage progression, forecasting, and closing revenue. So I'm going to break down each piece of this and what each one of these bullets actually means, right? Does anybody want to take a stab at what prospecting is and or what tools people use for prospecting in sales before I start talking through it? Salesforce is a good guess. That's going to be more on the deal management and stage progression, but I love it. Salesforce is everything. So Salesforce is used in prospect. I wouldn't say it's used in prospecting. It does support your prospecting efforts because you have to input the data. Reaching out to possible clients. Marie, you're right. That's the key to prospecting. So I won't keep the kimono too long. Marie hit it on the head. Prospecting is, by definition, I don't know Webster's definition, but by my definition is reaching out and trying to stimulate conversations with possible prospects, right? So what that means is, first, if you're a new business, if you're in a new tech company, it's what does a prospect look like for your organization? If it's cybersecurity, we talked about who's going to be leveraging cybersecurity. Well, it's going to be the chief risk officer and folks like that kind of like, or maybe the CTO. It's going to be folks like that. Each technology has different prospects. The key is always to kind of stay above the line, which means not middle management, but director, VP, C-level folks. And then the BTLs are going to be those middle management folks and end users. So both of them are important, but you always want to kind of start top level, so ATL, and then work your way down to the other prospects. Tools that people use for prospecting, the most common tools are going to be LinkedIn Sales Navigator, Outreach, which is a kind of a campaign tool so you can automate your email efforts. You can also do your dials through outreach. Obviously, your cell phone is going to be big in prospecting. I always love the AEs, the account executives that make calls or get on a text basis with prospects. But those are kind of going to be your core tools there. It's going to be LinkedIn Sales Navigator, Outreach, or a similar tool. You're going to have some kind of a database. So Zoom Info is going to help with that, right? It's going to be how you source the emails or the phone numbers for the prospects that you're looking for. And then, as they mentioned earlier, Salesforce. So Salesforce is going to be, if this depends, right? If you're coming into a new organization, Salesforce might not be populated yet. But if you're in an organization like mine that's been around for a few years and you get your book of business, you're going to have prospects already in there. But you're still always going to want to look and see, are these prospects active? Have they moved to a new company? And you're still going to be leveraging Zoom, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and all those other tools to help with that effort. But prospecting isn't just reaching out; it's also understanding your business, right? So for me, when I'm working with enterprise account executives, I want to make sure that they understand who they're reaching out to. So they should understand the business. They should be looking at things like 10Ks. And what 10Ks is kind of a report that gives an overview of what's important with that organization. You're going to want like quarterly business reviews, anything they can get their hands on to understand the business better. I always tell my folks, and when I was an AE, to put stock alerts. So for me, if I'm selling into NVIDIA, I'm going to put a stock alert to understand when are they having their board meetings. When like what's happening in the news? Are they trying to acquire something else? Is there new technology that they're developing? Just as much as I can understand and gather about an organization. Any questions on prospecting? And I'm probably missing some things, but any questions on prospecting before I jump into deal management and stage progression? I'm going to give it 30 seconds. All right. How do you get folks to respond to emails? Good question, Chanel. Luckily, I don't have to do that anymore, thank goodness. But when I did, the way that you manage kind of getting folks to respond to your emails is understanding them and their business, right? So that is the key to prospecting, and that's why I always say do as much research as you can about that individual that you're going to email, but also about that organization. Understand what their role is. Are there other people that we sold to previously with that same title? What types of similarities do they have in that role? And can you talk about their problems? The thing that gets people to respond is finding something in the news that is relevant to them, their business, or it actually is their business, or finding relevant information that people can learn from, glean information from, or kind of like used as a piece of bait that says, hey, let's get on a call. I want to talk about what other organizations similar to you are doing with XYZ challenge that I know you're facing at NVIDIA. I'm just using NVIDIA as an example. Any questions about that? Cool. So we talked about Salesforce a little bit, but this is where, thanks, Chanel. Deal management is where Salesforce really comes into play because there's a lot of components about it, right? One is, how are you managing your business in Salesforce? So are your next steps up to date? Is it in the right stage? Is it, do you have every single person that you've spoken to in that company? Are they accurately portrayed with the opportunity in Salesforce? So that's one piece of just managing your deals correctly, right? And the reason that's so important is, from a leadership perspective, people need to be able to jump in and see what's happening with your deal so that they can forecast that up to the CRO. It's also important for you as an AE, an individual seller, to understand and keep track of the notes, the next steps, and and what you're planning on trying to accomplish with the next conversation. One thing I always talk about is it's the little things that kind of add up to the big things. So, people that get sloppy with deal management, when we talk about Salesforce, tend to start losing it in other areas of sales. So I always try to create a place where people feel comfortable and reminded to make sure they're staying on top of those things so that everything's accurate and they're on top of their business. And at the end of the day, it's your business, right? That's one thing I always try to remind folks is like, this is your business. Think about it is if you owned a barbershop or a hairdresser, would you have your next appointment behind, or would you have it actually forward where it should be? So if a date's passed, that doesn't make any sense, right? So that's kind of just an example of what I mean with managing your deal. The other piece is, do you know what you're trying to get to when you're talking to a prospect, right? So stage progression. And what that means is there's about 6 stages usually in a sales cycle. One is like pre-discovery, so qualification. 2 is discovery. 3 will usually be like a demo or some kind of business conversation. 4 is usually going to be negotiation. So you put price in front of them. Now you're talking about pricing. 5 is going to be procurement. So it's now with legal or security and the contracts are being reviewed. And then 6 is closed. Stage progression is key to actually closing deals, right? So a lot of times people will find it easy to move a deal from stage 1 to 3 and then get stuck on stage 3 trying to figure out how to get to that proposal or how to get to procurement. And so stage progression is extremely important for you to actually move your deals through the funnel. And the funnel is the sales funnel. That's what we call it, right? So moving from a lead to an opportunity to revenue. We call that the sales funnel. How do you move your deals through the sales funnel in a timely way so that they close when you're forecasting them? Any questions on deal management or stage progression? I definitely missed some things on deal management, but if there's questions, I can probably pull that stuff back up and fill in any gaps. I'm gonna give it a few more seconds and I'm gonna move on to forecasting and closing revenue. All right, nobody has questions on deal management and stage progression. Cool, so forecasting and closing revenue. I think prospecting is extremely important because that's how deals get into the sales funnel. Deal management are how deals get through the funnel. Forecasting and closing revenue are how the butter's made, right? Without revenue, there is no business. And without forecasting, the company cannot understand how much money or have purview into how much money they should be reporting to the board in terms of revenue. So one thing I had to learn, not the hard way, but one thing I learned when I was a rep, when I didn't really understand why forecasting was so important, was it's not just about, telling people when the deal is going to close. That's not why it's important. It's important because the whole company swings by these forecasts. If it's a publicly traded company, literally stockholders or the board has to adhere to stockholders, and the forecast needs to be accurate so that they know what the revenue is going to look like. Which tools did you use for forecasting? So we use here at Handshake and most companies, Salesforce is the primary tool for forecasting. There's other solutions like Pathlight, which we also use here as well. And I forgot the other one that we used to use back at Dropbox. But there's a bunch of them. But the main one that you need to understand is Salesforce, because at the end of the day, your deals are going to be in Salesforce going through that funnel. And I'll tell a story about how I learned about forecasting, the way I learned it, why it was so important. When I was at Dropbox, I was closing deals always doing well, but I always had a few last minute deals that I didn't forecast because I wasn't sure, or I didn't forecast they were going to close. They were in my opportunity list that you could go through and find them, but I didn't forecast that they were going to close in quarter because there was still some outliers. And I was started to be known as this guy that would bring in these last minute deals. And though it was great, I'm bringing in revenue. One day, my manager and another manager came to me and they said, Morris, like, it's awesome that you're bringing in this revenue, but what you're doing is throwing off the forecast. And then they sat me down and talked to me about why the forecast is so important, that it literally, especially for companies that are trying to IPO, they need to know down to the very last dollar what's going to close so that they know how much they need to make up or how much they don't need in the future from a revenue perspective to hit the targets. So it's extremely important when you're talking about a company, especially that's pre-IPO, and making sure that that revenue is forecasted correctly. What's it like to pitch your product and close a deal? Is there a secret to the sauce? Great question, Chanel. So I think the key to what makes any seller strong, there's a few different pieces. The first is strong discovery. So do you have the ability to ask questions that are needed to actually unpack, is this a real deal? So questions like timing, medic is something people usually use as a strategy or a philosophy for selling, right? And what that is like metrics, economic buyer, decision process, decision maker. Can't think of all of them right now off the top of my head. But basically, it's kind of these keys that you need to unlock to understand your deal. So discovery is one piece that is something that you must have to be successful in sales, at least on an ongoing basis. Everyone can get lucky and close a deal here and there, but having a strong sales process is important to do it sustainably. So discovery, asking the right questions and understanding what you need to know to make sure this is a real deal. The second piece is I'd say holding strong. A lot of times you'll work with a customer, you'll do discovery, you'll understand the timeline, you'll understand who owns the budget. The need has been identified. So, why are they looking at evaluating this technology, but they haven't evaluated, or they don't know the evaluation criteria. So again, it plays into discovery, but it's a little bit different because it's now, what is the evaluation criteria? Why are they talking to us, right? I got to take a little drink of water real quick. So really understanding what is the evaluation criteria, why are they talking to us, what is going to make this a win. Without the evaluation criteria, you're basically throwing darts at a board with no target. So you must understand why they're trying to buy. And then the next piece is holding firm. Once you've gotten past that part, and holding strong is like, how do I understand, or from a pricing perspective, everyone's going to try to run the price down. There's no deal that you're going to work on where you're going to present pricing and they're going to say, oh, that's great. Let's sign up. Let's do this. A lot of times what they're going to do is end up saying, okay, well, we have a budget for X, Y, Z. And that's when you have to hold firm. You have to believe in your technology and say, all right, like, I understand that you might not have the budget right now. How do you guys go about finding more budget? Right? Like, don't ever give up on your price. Give it a few shots and try to understand how they can find more budget. And if that's not possible, once you've exhausted all the ways that they can go find more budget, say, okay, another option might be a multi-year contract where I can maybe discount year one, but it's going to increase in year two. So there's all these different things that to kind of help you make sure you're staying strong with your pricing. Any other questions about the? Oh, we haven't even got into forecasting. So to be an accurate forecaster, you again have to know all those things that we just talked about. One thing that irks me as a leader is if and AE doesn't know what the timeline is for a deal. So like, if you come to me and say, hey, I got XYZ deal, I got a deal with Google. Let's use Google. It's a 300K deal. And first thing I'm gonna say is awesome. You know, who are you working with? So what level of power are you at? This next thing I'm gonna say is, all right, cool. You're working with an ATL, that's awesome. What's the timeline? When are they looking to buy? Like, when are they looking to purchase? If you say, I don't know what the timeline is, it's hard for me to believe it's a real deal if there is no timeline. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean it's not a deal, but it doesn't mean there's an opportunity. Without a timeline, it's hard to have an opportunity, because an opportunity means there's a timeline, there's a need, like there's all these different things that associate with it. And to forecast correctly, you must have the timeline. The next piece you have to understand is like, who are you working with at what levels? Because without knowing that, your deal's at risk. And really, and this is one thing that I want everyone to leave this with. The whole job of sales, and to make it simple, to like simplify it as much as possible, is to de-risk opportunities. That's all you're doing. You find an opportunity, somebody likes the technology, awesome. Now your job is to ask all the questions to make sure this is a real deal, to make sure you're speaking at the right level, and to make sure there is as least or the least amount of risk that could be associated to that deal, so that when you put it in your forecast, you feel confident that it's a real deal. Any questions on any questions on any of this stuff? Prospecting, deal management, and stage progression, forecasting and closing revenue. Right, Tony. I mean, at the end of the day, like, this is what I always tell reps too. Like, selling people stuff or getting people to like your technology isn't the hard thing if you're already at a good organization. If you're at the right organization, there's technology that works, that people want. What people need a lot of times, especially at startups, and maybe not so much when you're at a Salesforce or a Google where people already know the technology, what they need is somebody to help guide them through the sales cycle. So for companies that I've worked at previously, like Domino Data Lab, which now is pretty big, they're over a billion valuation and a unicorn organization as well, is that nobody knows how to buy it. If it's a new technology, nobody knows how to buy it. So as a seller, I have to tell that person how to buy it. I have to guide them through it. First, I have to sell them. Sorry, I'm like dying right now. Cool. Sorry, I'm coming down with just getting over COVID. But, and I get so passionate on these conversations, it's really scratching my voice up. But, give me 1 second. I need to grab some water.
So yeah, as Morris takes his break, we'll hope that you're enjoying these sessions and everything. He is getting over COVID, so we want to make sure that we're giving him the time and the grace that he needs to, because he still decided to come through and give y'all all this knowledge today. So definitely, as you session out, take your time, Morris. Don't even worry about all of that. But again, I hope that y'all enjoying this intro to tech sales. He actually did this about 2 months ago with us, and I'm learning even more now than I did that first time because he's speaking from another perspective. So that goes to show you how these talks really evolve over time. Oh, that's a good point. I'll wait for him to get back so that he can address that.
All right, here we go.
You feeling a little better, man?
Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit better. Sorry about that.
Don't apologize. You're still here. We're happy that you're recovering from COVID. Please take all the time you need.
So what I was saying is, and this is another key to being a very strong seller, is having the ability to guide somebody through the sales cycle. A lot of times when you're selling new technologies And for me, I always tell people to go work in startups. I think it teaches you business at a master class level. A lot of times, if you're a first or second seller, you're working directly with C-level people in your organization. You're working directly with product. You're working directly with the chief, chief general counsel or whoever. So you're learning every single facet of the business at the highest level. But going back to my point, understanding how to guide people through the sales cycle when you're at these small companies. A lot of times the idea that you're selling is new. It could be the best idea ever, but what that means is you have to figure out how to find the budget. Because when you have a new technology, it's not budgeted into their fiscal. So now you have to tell them, first sell them on the idea, then help that person who usually doesn't know how to find budget, teach that person how to find budget, or leverage that person to get above the line, which is what you really want to be doing. Leverage that person to get above the line, or you're already above the line, and then learn how to find budget, right? And work with that person and partner with them from a consultative standpoint on how to find that budget. So that's one of the keys. Is like it's one thing selling a technology where the budget's already there. I think most competent sellers can do that. It takes a special type of seller to be able to sell a new product and find the budget. That's one of the hardest things to do. 1 second. What's the formula for following up and leading to close the deal? Should be outlined. What's the formula to following up and leading to a closed deal? What's the formula for following? I guess I don't understand. What's the formula? I don't understand that question fully. I think what you're asking is what goes. How do you get through the sales funnel? Is basically what I think you're saying. And really, it all just here's the way that I think about sales and opportunities. Not every opportunity is going to be good. So what I try to do is disqualify, and I do that through discovery. So for me, when I was a seller, I'm trying to ask questions to prove that it's not an opportunity. Not in a way that's disrespectful, but I'm going to ask, is there, like, is this something that you guys are thinking about? Is there an initiative behind this? Is there a reason that you guys are looking at evaluating the platform now? Or is this just something and I wouldn't actually give an and or because I that's a pet peeve of mine, but I would just leave it there and see what they say. And then if they say no, then I would say, or is this something you guys are just an information gathering phase? What I'm doing there is figuring out what's the urgency behind buying this now. Is it urgent, or is it we're just kicking tires? Then I'm going to ask, like, where does these initiatives come from? All these different things. But really, the first piece is just qualifying or disqualifying and making sure it's sturdy. Once you've done that, now I need to make sure I'm asking the questions to the right people. So that's the next piece is like, am I high enough to, give me a second, I need to blow my nose. All right. So am I at a high, I'm gonna tone my voice down a little bit because I'm hurting myself. Am I at a high enough level to ask the questions that I need to ask to make sure this deal is qualified? So that's gonna be the next piece. If I check that off, great. Now, are they aligned on where this, like, have I figured out what technology or like why they're evaluating this? Okay, I figured out that. Now I know why they're evaluating our technology. The next piece then is going to be, have I aligned our or have I proven the value of my platform to what they're evaluating? So is there value alignment? And once you have value alignment, you're talking to the right people and there's an actual timeline, you have a deal, and that deal now it's just about aligning the procurement process to the timeline in which you're forecasting the deal. And I'm probably missing something, but that's high level what you're trying to accomplish there. Any other questions around that? All right, cool. Lastly, is sales your calling? And I love these gifts, but they're not working for me. And that makes sense because it's a PDF. Dang. So an easy, surefire way for somebody to know if sales is for them or they would be good at sales is, do you enjoy people? I've seen people be really good that don't enjoy people too, but I think it's better if you enjoy people because that way you're not really like forcing yourself to do something that you don't like. So first, do you like people, right? I love people. I genuinely like, if you go out with me, I'm interacting with folks. I'm stimulating. I'm jumping into conversations. I'm engaging with people. I'm making the waitresses laugh. I'm like, oh, I just enjoy people. So that's that's just always been my thing. For me, that's something I enjoy. Do you like talking to people? Do you like talking in front of people? Public speaking is huge. So do you have the ability to speak? And you'll pick that up. If you're not good at it now, but sales is, you love people, you'll pick it up as you go. Another big thing is like money. Everybody likes money, but do you like money? Do you love money? Because if you love money, sales is a great way for you to kind of generate whatever revenue you want. It's one of the ways that I've seen upward mobility from low income to upper class, or whatever you want to call it, however our class system is here in America. We have people, I've seen people and worked with people throughout my sales career that didn't have college degrees, that came from like some really, even me, like I come from a pretty blue collar, rough background, so to speak. And without sales, I really truly don't believe, I would have done the things that I've done. So if money is important to you, which I always knew it was for me, there was things that I always wanted to have, and I knew I had the will. And in sales, a lot of times it's just will. Do you have the will to win? And I think other than that, it's like, are you somebody who has structure? Do you like structure? A lot of times people think, a lot of times people think sales isn't structured and it's like all these different things. But if you break it down, it's very, very simple. I just talked about the funnel. It's always going to be that funnel. Sales process will always be the same no matter what product you're selling. I've sold all different kinds of things. And I've been successful at every place I've been at. What's made me successful is understanding this sales process doesn't change. Who I'm speaking to changes, the product changes, but sales process never changes. There's going to be intricacies that your company might put in place that are like, hey, you got to do mutual action plans, or hey, you have to do this or that. But what you need to accomplish in every deal is always the same. So there's a process to it. And once you understand your process, you'll have success. Faster you get to it, the better. Yeah, good question, Tony. So I've seen there's all different kinds of engineers out there. I think people think of engineers as being real introverted, but I've met a ton at Dropbox specifically comes to mind that, we're the life of the party. And so those types of folks who are those extrovert, but super, super smart folks, definitely had the ability to go be into sales. There's two ways to go about it. And I've seen it, right? One is be a solutions architect or a sales engineer. So you're going to now be working on deals hand in hand with a salesperson. And once you figure out the sales process, you can ask to move into sales, right? So that's one way to go about it. Another way to go about it, and I don't think engineers always think about it, but you guys have the ability, especially, this is why I love small companies. It's probably harder at like a Google or something like that. But at a smaller organization, an engineer has the ability to go talk to a sales manager and say, hey, I want to sit in on some sales calls to understand how the product's being impacted or how the product's being pitched. Like different things like that. And that gives you some experience, that ride-along experience to start understanding what the sales process looks like. Again, it's just understanding sales process and then getting into sales. Yeah, you could probably do it all day then. Like, engineers are some of the smartest people in the world. Some salespeople are too. People get it twisted, but engineers are. You guys have, certain types of brains that are super analytical, and all those kinds of things will allow you to be successful in sales. Sales is problem solving. So if you're an analytical mind who can say, okay, they're trying to accomplish this. These are the people that I need to work with. It's a big puzzle, and you can break down that puzzle and break down that problem. You'll be successful. Any questions on, is sales your calling or is sales for you? Before I really we're in questions at this point anyway. So we're near the end here, and I'm just gonna leave it open for questions.
Yeah, so that was wonderful. Once again, thank you. You had COVID, and over the weekend, you let us know, but thank you again for showing up here and just doing what you do. This has been sensational, and this is even different from the last time you did this talk because you added a whole lot of new information that wasn't in the previous talk. If
Right.
you had a chance, go to our YouTube link. You'll see Tech Means Business Morris with Handshake, and then you can compare it to this video. He drops a lot of knowledge in between. So, but just to get the questions going on, I know that you talked a lot about like that will, that desire, and so you playing football. So then I would say, like, when did you discover that you had that will, really that will to succeed when it comes to some sales?
I think for me, I grew up with people saying I couldn't do a lot of stuff, like not family or anything like that. My family's been amazing, but just, I was in a public school system. I got in trouble a lot. Teachers were saying I was going to be a bum, like all those kinds of things. But on the other side of it, I'm excelling in sports. I'm top 25, running back in the Bay Area. And so for me, when I always look back at those things, I look back at all the things that were hard for me, right? Like, and then I think about where I am today, and that's all I really need to have the will to win. Like, if I made it through all these things, my father passing and then going and starting a brand new job, fumbling a ball in front of 50,000 people and getting back in the game and scoring a touchdown. Like, if I made it through these things, there's nothing I can't do. And that's kind of the way I look at life in general. And from a sales perspective, it's like, nobody's going to tell me that I can't do this job, even if there's not a lot of people that look like me, right? So I don't know. It's honestly like it's like always having a chip on my shoulder a little bit. And sometimes it's probably not even the best thing to have. But overall, me having that chip on my shoulder has made me be successful and drive to always strive to be the best at everything I do.
And that's what I know. If you top 25 in any state, I don't think you understand. There's only so many within running back. There's about average team carries 2 to 3 running backs. So the fact that he was even top 25 in his state, that's crazy. That shows his will to determination. Dominic actually has a question that I would like for you to answer. How could I have any questions with incredibly thorough presentation? Incredible. We see persistence and will today, Sheets. That's more of a comment than a question, but it also speaks to your will. And so another question I had in mind is, what would you say is your favorite part of just being in sales? You're a regional VP of enterprise sales. What's your favorite thing to do just about your job?
Problem solving. I was talking to my girlfriend Lee yesterday, and we were out on a walking around Houston, and we were talking about. She asked me the same thing, like, what do I love about sales? And it's the problem solving. I like building stuff or coming in and solving stuff. So in startups, a lot of times there's process that needs to be built out, or there's inefficiencies that we could figure out to make the sales process better. That's one piece. I like building things or solving things. The next piece is, like, I love talking to people. I love engaging. Salespeople are the most funny, like the biggest characters out there. So football is the only other place that I've seen this, and sports in general. But you got a team full of people, and everybody's different, and it's just a lot of different characters. So I enjoy working with different characters and helping them be successful. I mean, one woman on my team sold $600,000 this year, made more money than she's ever made in her life, right? And so I can leave and she'll remember me forever. You know, I helped her impact her, change her life.
And that's really beautiful, just to see that how much of an impact you have, that you're helping so many other people. So then how big does collaboration go into sales? Can we visit that a little bit?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So sales is the most collaborative job I think there is. First you're collaborating with your SDR, who's the person that helps you find opportunities. You're collaborating with me or somebody like me, or levels above, right? So you might be trying to pull in the CRO to help get on a call and help you with an opportunity. So you're working with C levels, you're working with SDRs, you're working with middle management and executive levels. And then once you get the deal and you have a real opportunity, you might actually have to work with engineering. Maybe there's a product issue, and this is at smaller companies. At larger companies, you won't be able to have that ability to work with engineers, but you're gonna engage with the engineering team. You're gonna engage with finance. You're gonna engage with legal. So you're actually coordinating with everybody in the organization to push through a deal. Every deal is a team effort.
And that's beautiful. So then the last question that I have for you is a two-parter, but I think you could really speak to this. What's the best piece of career advice you received, and what's a great piece of career advice you would give to somebody who is trying to excel in this position and get to where you are? The best piece, honestly, the best thing that anyone ever told me was, and it's super simple, but it's just ask for help. I've always been somebody who put everything on my back. I'm gonna figure it out on my own, because I don't know why, that's just how I am. But when I first started in sales, and this could have derailed my whole career, they put me on a plan when I was an SDR, and they put me on a plan I've been working there for 3-4 months. They put me on a plan and were trying to kind of like push me out, right? The manager didn't like me for whatever reason, that's fine. And there was one other black dude in the company on the sales team, and I went to him. I asked him, I said, man, how can I be successful in this role? And he said, go to every person you work with, every AE that you work with, and ask them what you can do to help them specifically. And I went and I asked him that question, and what that did was get all those people, one, knowing that I care about my job. Two, they all became somewhat mentors. You know, they all try to help me be successful. They were like, oh, Mo, like everyone liked me. So it was just now about, he needs help, let's help him. If you show that you're a hard worker, people will help you. And see, that's beautiful, because I think so many of us think that we have to, when we get hired to a new job or in a new position, we have to know everything, and we become, a bit scared to ask for help because we think it's going to look bad on us. But really, asking for help shows how much you're willing to learn, how much you want to help other people become successful. So that's an amazing piece of advice, and I thank you for that.
Yeah.
And so thank you again, Morris, for just doing this. I know you had COVID, but thank you again for showing up here despite all of that. Thank you for just giving everyone this information. Thank you for being you. We really appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it, man.
And of course, so for everybody else, tomorrow we have program management with another Handshake colleague. She's a dope person, and she's head over senior DEI, a senior DEI program manager at Handshake. We can't wait for you. So tune in, drop Morris. I dropped his LinkedIn in right here. Make sure that y'all connect with him. Super dope guy. He's always willing to help, always willing to refer. So please make sure y'all reach out to him. great person right here.
All right. Y'all take it easy. Thank you.
See y'all tomorrow.